Our name is Teppei. You're a boy from a family with a martial arts tradition. Teppei's dad was busy practicing martial arts and didn't hear his wife call him in for dinner. So in the end, everyone ate separately. Almost done, Teppei realized he was going to be late for school. He planned to take his motorbike to save time, but his mom didn't let him because the teacher had complained about his reckless driving last time, so he had to walk with his bike, and I realized this scene was pretty sad. Teppei said this was the last time he saw his parents because they died in an accident not long after. Sometime later, when he came to visit his parents' grave, he saw a girl and a butler on a horse carriage. Following behind were 3 young men chasing after them in a car. He rushed to his own car to give chase as well, and he sped off like a true racing boy. Wanting to be a hero, Teppei jumped over the 3 thugs' car and threw his own bike at them. One of them pulled out a gun, but the butler calmly blocked it. Not like Batman, though. He jumped over the cramped carriage, so Teppei had to jump again to save the young lady. But in the end, they both fell off the mountainside. You'd think the movie ends here. But wait, by some miraculous and incredible way, both of them survived. They both woke up and introduced themselves. Well, of course, that's the first thing to do to get started, right? The girl introduced herself as Saklot. She said she was a princess from some noble family, but honestly, we don't really need to care about that. After talking for a while, they climbed back up and retrieved the bike that Teppei had thrown earlier. The butler had already brought a limo to take the young lady home. She didn't forget to give Teppei a kiss that left him frozen in place. Teppei's grandfather started losing patience, waiting for his grandson to arrive. Meanwhile, Teppei was held back by security because he was a stranger carrying a katana on his back. Grandpa had to come down to bring Teppei in. He advised him not to try to avenge his parents because he was afraid his grandson would get trapped in a cycle of hatred. Later, Teppei explained he was late because he was saving someone. He was introduced to the guests, and the person he saved really was a royal princess. He was also going to be the heir to the Arima Corporation. Actually, he was only chosen publicly for show, which is also the name of the Teppei family line. He was only chosen publicly like that. But both Grandpa and he didn't want Teppei to inherit. Teppei had to pretend to lure out the traitors hiding in the company. At the party, he met a bodyguard trusted by Grandpa named Hudson. He already had a wife and 2 kids, so he was pretty easygoing. At the end of the party, Teppei saw a girl practicing sword dancing, so he ran down to try a few moves. After a while, your uncle came and introduced. This is Cynthia, Hudson's eldest daughter and Teppei's future wife. Teppei was taken to live in this huge house, and he even got a girl named IU as his personal servant. But as soon as he entered the house, a bunch of servants were already waiting for his orders. Inside, he was taken up to the bedroom, but in his mind he kept thinking about Saklot. Teppei called IU over to ask about Cynthia's personality, because he saw Cynthia carrying a sadness while fencing. IU thought Cynthia didn't accept the arranged marriage, so she was upset. Teppei didn't know what to do either, because this was completely his uncle's decision. Life changes made Teppei still unable to adapt. Above all, he was overwhelmed by being admitted to the most prestigious school in the country. He felt embarrassed, because everyone noticed him by the family name written on the car. So he went somewhere else. While walking, he bumped into Seika, the social club president. 2 girls with her wanted Teppei to apologize for bumping into someone. But Seika didn't mind, because she was also at fault for not watching the path. Seika told him to button up his collar because he looked like a reckless kid. After some back and forth, the 3 girls left. IU also found Teppei to drag him back to meet the principal. The reason he got so much attention was because his uncle donated tens of millions of vina to the school. Because Teppei saw the level here was quite high, so it would be tough to catch up, as classmates competed to get to know Teppei. But just watch out for one guy named Nezu. Saklot also passed by and went to see Teppei right away. While spinning around, Teppei suddenly fell on top of Saklot. At that moment, Cynthia came in to greet her future husband because she almost accepted seeing this scene. Then Sylvia cursed Teppei once and ran away. While Saklot acted as if nothing happened, Teppei clearly explained his relationship with Sylvia, so Sacklot advised him to make up with Sylvia for better harmony. The two went to the training room. During the sword fight, Teppei noticed Sylvia always lonely because no one matched her level to challenge. Sacklot smirked, so Teppei had to train together with Sylvia. On the EU and CK side, they heard that TPP challenged Sylvia, so they planned to come watch Sylvia but didn't care, because TPP wasn't using the right sword. So EU brought a proper sword for TPP to get into position. Both charged at each other, but the result was a draw. TPP admitted defeat because Sylvia was faster, and from there, the two made peace. When leaving, EU advised Teppei to join the social club because both Sacklot and Sylvia were in it. The next day, Teppei was overwhelmed again when the whole club was packed inside a whole building, and Nezu was also in this club. But Zeka didn't let Teppei join because his manners were too sloppy. She gave him a chance at the next week's party to fix his manners. Only then would he be allowed into the club. From that day on, Teppei trained continuously with both Scarlet and EU. That night, EU gave Teppei a cup of coffee that reminded him of his mother's image before. The next morning, he trained as usual, but EU thought he should try training, like how he learned etiquette in swordsmanship. Finally, that day came. The trio Seika also ran out to welcome Teppei. The party began, and as usual, dancing was always first. Seeing Teppei so proper made Seika want to, but her mind still told her she shouldn't fall for him. The party ended, and now it was time to wait for JK's result. She agreed, but also assigned TPP to host the next party, which shocked him when he heard the news. A few days later, Seika was practicing drawing but kept thinking about Teppei, so she spent the whole session unable to draw anything. Meanwhile, Teppei achieved his wish to ride a motorcycle, but it was a motorcycle made by the corporation, known as a bike that never tips over. So it was very safe to use, and also suited his riding skills. However, he found this quite annoying, so he told the two doctor uncles to take it back. Basically, with a bike like a tumbler, how could you lean into turns? At the club, Teppei had no idea how to host a party because he had never attended one before. He bragged about Seika, but the two girls told him Seika was a famous designer. Just then, Seika arrived to assign work to Nezu. Before he could read the letter, Nezu came with a red nose because he had a cold. The reason was staying up late, memorizing lines that Seika gave, but nothing stuck in his head. So Nezu spent the whole day sleeping, but when he woke up, he wasn't aware anymore and acted like a robot. Then he had a short circuit, so Teppei had to take him to Seika because Nezu was taken to the infirmary. After the questioning, Seika had to appoint Teppei to replace Nezu. But Teppei had to think for himself or recall what Nezu said before the group arrived. At the end of the exhibition, both Teppei and Seika were interviewed, but Teppei's brief answers made Seika keep stepping on his toes, which made him have to correct her. Every question from the reporter was another step on his foot. Teppei was so annoyed, he wanted to step on her back, but couldn't. However, Teppei still honestly said his thoughts about Seika being a responsible and confident person, as well as someone who can recognize other people's abilities. After the interview, Teppei revealed that he also knew why Seika hated his family. Basically, because Seika's family used to work for the Arima family, but because they were too busy, Seika's grandmother left and found a new place to settle. Since then, Seika's new family turned to hate the Arima family for breaking the happiness of the previous generation. However, Teppei showed the letter he had asked his grandfather to write to apologize for what he did to Seika's family. She also accepted it and was looking forward to the party Teppei was going to host soon. Sucross and Sylvia were proud of Teppei for resolving the feud between the two families, and now Zeko was calm enough to work on the design plans. Sucross still went to school by carriage with the butler Alfred. Teppei remained the same, though he thanked IU for helping him a bit in what happened. At class, Nizu jumped out asking if Teppei had any plans for the break yet. And to thank Teppei for the interview, Nizu said he would help him organize the upcoming party. These two boys, with their natural planning skills, were bound to create a disaster just by looking at their faces. Trustworthy? Huh. Credible. Meanwhile, Sucross wanted to invite Teppei by asking Sylvia first before inviting him out during the break. Sylvia agreed but seemed to be deep in thought. That evening, Hudson had a talk with his daughter, hoping Sylvia would happily accept this marriage. Sucross packed to prepare for the trip, even though the butler kept being strict with Teppei. Sylvia also called Sucross but didn't seem to know what she truly wanted to say. The next day, Teppei and Sucross went out like a normal couple. They flew to Osaka, and Taylor wondered if it was okay since Sucross didn't have a bodyguard with him. But she felt reassured because Taylor could protect her if needed. They hung out from the mall to the zoo and then went to eat. At the end of the day, Sucross insisted on riding the Ferris wheel to enjoy the view. Then Teppei told Sucross about his parents' death, and once again, sad memories came flooding back. Sucross felt a bit cold from playing too much. Teppei said he would help Sucross learn to like winter in Japan because there would be so many things to do. Sucross also recounted Sylvia's childhood story, that Sylvia's mother died in an accident, but Hassan tried to hide it from his daughter. But seeing the innocence in her made him unable to hold back tears when she asked about her mother. Thanks to this outing, Teppei got the idea for the party, but Sucross ran over to hug Teppei and begged him never to forget her. This made me think something was about to happen to Sucross. The scene switches to two girls fighting a monster. Well, not exactly two. Looking at this scene, I even thought I was watching a different show, but Nezu appears with Teppei sitting and playing in the background. Nezu explains what happened. Teppei invited most of his friends to the party, but they arranged to meet at the train station, GA. They planned to go to the hot springs first, which made Sylvia a bit curious. When passing through the ticket gate, AI went through normally, except Sucross and Sylvia, who hadn't been there before. The whole group got on the train and chatted happily. Sucross shared that she had taken trains many times before when she was abroad. Abroad, she even traveled across Europe to attend royal guest events. When they arrived at the hotel, Teppei only rented 2 rooms, one for females and one for males. Yu intended to follow Teppei, but Teppei told her to go back to her previous room since she was also female. Yu felt a bit awkward because she was a maid, but Teppei said that on this trip everyone was equal, no master-servant roles. And that's the end of the story Nezu was telling. Teppei still didn't understand what Nezu was telling AI. He thought there were only 2 people with Teppei, but suddenly 2 more appeared that I didn't know. All 4 discussed that matter. I don't know what it was about, but from their description, it sounded pretty shady. Just as expected, what else could 4 perverts think of at the hot springs other than spying? Meanwhile, the girls planned to beat to death whoever dared to spy. Sylvia also had a sword ready. You hid in a corner because she had just lost her maid status and wasn't used to it yet. As expected, when Sylvia went to bathe, she took her sword along. The girls had already bathed, while the 4 guys were ready to act like perverts. Luckily, they couldn't stand eavesdropping, so one went ahead first. When he came back, it was miserable. Learning from that, the 4 boys decided to take another route. Before they got there, another guy was out. He decided not to let the sacrifice of the 2 extras be in vain. Teppei wanted Nezu to continue, but Nezu had already fallen. Teppei kept going with the mission to not let his friends down, but before he could do anything, he accidentally pressed a button and crashed straight into the girls' bath. So the 4 guys got caught by the girls and were questioned. Seika made all 4 kneel here until morning, but Sharklot wanted to give them a chance. So Seika challenged them to a ping-pong match. Now Teppei would play against Sylvia. Knowing he was slower, Teppei faked his moves. Sylvia wasn't one to back down and did the same. That night, the whole group had fun playing karaoke, whacking moles, and going out to eat. When it was time to sleep, the 4 boys sprawled out, while the 6 girls lay neatly. Seika was about to accept the invitation to join TPP's club. The 4 girls decided to make a pact that if TPP ever chose AI, they wouldn't be jealous of each other. Meanwhile, TPP hadn't gone to sleep yet and was out in the cold singing something that made the girls laugh. After a while, the 2 doctors brought Teppei another vehicle, but it was even weirder than the last one, so of course he was reluctant to get on it. At school, Teppei, happily hanging out with Sharklot, accidentally hurt Sylvia, but remembering the pact at the hot springs, Sylvia decided to step back. Then Alfred jumped in through the window and threatened Sharklot not to get close to Teppei. Sharklot said Teppei was her lover, which stunned Alfred stiff. He wouldn't back down and fought back hard. But being old, he couldn't match the strength of these 2 young people. Because Teppei dragged the fallen body away, she sprained her ankle, so Teppei had to carry her to the infirmary. Teppei apologized for this, and Sharklot set a condition for forgiveness. Teppei had to take her to her family's skyscraper for dinner. Sharklot's leg was bandaged. Outside, lots of rose petals started falling. They went outside and saw a hot air balloon, and someone jumped down from it. That guy jumped down, mistakenly thinking everyone was there to welcome him. Sylvia recognized him as Harmon, a royal businessman from Sharklot's family. Sylvia was also surprised since Scarlet never told AI she had a fiancé. Taylor reminded Scarlet about her dinner promise, and she immediately cheered up. Seika stayed silent because the pact forbade any AI from interfering in other people's love affairs. I heard my dad arguing about something related to the Sharklot family. The next morning, Sylvia waited at the club to ask Sharklot about what she heard last night, that the Sharklot family was secretly building a nuclear tower. But Sharklot didn't know about it, making Sylvia think maybe this was instigated by a third party that no AI knew about. Seika overheard outside and was also discovered by Sylvia, so she had to show herself. To be fair, Seika also informed them about something that was about to happen at the Arima company. On the way out, Teppei also messaged Sharklot to meet at the Arima building tonight. That night, while Teppei was talking to the receptionist about something, Harmon arrived, causing him to forget his phone. After finishing the conversation, Harmon went to meet TikTok's grandfather. But the old man still wanted to wait for one more person before starting to talk, and that person was Hotson, who had just arrived. The conversation included the third party's purpose to build a resort in the middle of the Three Peoples areas, but someone from Harmon's side had collaborated with the third party to create a nuclear weapon near the resort. Although arrested, that person still refused to confess. Sharklot escaped Anfest and went to TPP, forcing him from the house to the gate. Meanwhile, Sylvia heard from her sister that she had to come and deal with TPP. Seika's side was also called in. Sharklot had just arrived but didn't see AI, so she called Teppei. But when Teppei called back, the whole building suddenly lost power. Teppei then received news from the person who killed his parents that the next target would be his flag. The terrorists then stormed in one by one, hitting the security system and threatening the staff. Next, they entered the room of the BA senior member, who was backed by Hartman's secretary, Josephine. But Mr. Arima still managed to contact the EU. On Sharklot's side, the BA-3 stormed in, simply wanting her to stay put, not wander around. Poor commander of the BA, having to go with two slightly dim-witted servants. However, information from the building had already leaked outside. Mr. Arima also found out that the Seika family had been involved. That's right, when EU and most of the maids accessed, they were recognized, so the other side launched a counterattack. However, EU managed to break through and regain control of the cameras, but shortly after lost control again and got hit by a reverse virus, so TPP had to act on his own and head to the building himself. TPP had no choice but to take that weird vehicle. Soon after, Sylvia appeared and wanted to come along, but a few guys were already waiting and chased after them. He said you could press the green button. Just as expected, the two legs in the back worked, and so did the two in the front. The weird vehicle transformed into a normal motorcycle, just as Teppy wanted. Meanwhile, Sharklot wanted to know why they were doing all this. The commander said he used to be a poor man, living in the slums, and could only envy those living in luxury like her. This corporation, this life, is heaven compared to the life he had. And now he has the chance to turn this heaven into hell, so why not do it? Back to Teppy, he sneaked in and saw two guys drinking right inside his building. Haikyuu also said that she regained control once again, and will now act as his informant. Teppy had to retreat because he was being resisted. But just at that moment, reinforcements arrived. In the distance, there was a performance truck arranged by CK to distract the BA headquarters. Then Harmon jumped out, holding Josephine back so Mr. Arima and Hosen could escape. But a gunshot went off, and we still don't know what happened next. Teppy flew up to the roof to land. We know the performance was to keep the media from noticing what was happening in the skyscraper. Haikyuu had control over all the emergency exits, so now they could enter without worry. Sylvia was upset about the earlier shooting, so she jumped down first. What surprised me was where Sylvia got that outfit and changed into it mid-air. And Teppy was smart enough to let the enemy know they had entered. Back at BA, the senior figure Harmon had been shot and was taken to another room. Josephine said their goal was only to ruin the Arima Corporation's image because it was at risk of failing, so she ordered a retreat. But the guy in the suit was told by the commander that they had planted a bomb in the skyscraper. Mr. Arima and Hosen were safe. The power was back on. Steve just arrived and wanted to know where Harmon was, but everyone thought Harmon was dead. Steve handed over these two to Cynthia and ran off to save Scarlet. Charlotte was reflecting on what the commander said about his life when he heard Teppy flying and called out, both happy to see each other again. Mr. Arima expressed gratitude to Seika. Yeah, that was nice, but what about the bomb? Exactly. When Charlotte just remembered, the bomb had already started its countdown. After 1 hour, the power went out again, making it harder to find the bomb. EU detected this and reported it to Mr. Arima. Most had left the building, but Charlotte and Teppy were still inside. EU discovered there were a total of 5 bombs. Charlotte, and Teppy went looking for an exit. Charlotte understood the situation and still believed Teppy could do something, so she kept joking happily. IU and everyone else only had one last option: reset the entire company server. That would kill all the viruses, but all the company's data would be lost as well. Mr. Arima allowed the reset because he had backup data stored in his mind, and all the company's staff. According to EU's calculations, there were only 25 minutes left until the bombs exploded. 15 minutes to restore the system, then only 10 minutes left. The support team could only handle 3 bombs. Sylvia volunteered for 1 bomb, and Seika went with her. Teppy heard the situation, so EU would guide him to handle the last bomb. Once agreed, the reset process began. While searching, Teppy accidentally ran into the 2 idiots left behind earlier. They hadn't found the way out, and Charlotte recognized them. She said they were bad people, but also very kind, which made Teppy confused. They were jealous that Teppy got to go with Charlotte and tried to pull out guns to shoot her. She begged them to stop. Her cuteness made them unable to resist wanting to take her in and raise her. While they were distracted with nonsense, Teppy hit one of them. They were pissed about the surprise hit, but happy to meet again. Teppy then got stuck at this door, and EU wanted him to find a way through. Because if he waited for her to restore the system to open it, it would be too late. So he wanted to use his head to open it. Yes, literally his head. Teppy decided to use the useless wooden stick in his hand, but after one swing, only half of it remained. The other half almost hit Charlotte's head because she was spaced out, so Teppy had to call her back to focus. The 2 girls were now sitting, expressing their feelings to Teppy, sharing with each other. Sylvia liked Teppy like she loved her mother. She didn't show it, but always kept that feeling in her heart. because her mother died before and she couldn't do anything. So now she wants to do something while she can. Seika hated it when Teppei always messed things up and made her angry, but she fell for him before realizing it. Teppei couldn't pry the door open, so he asked Charlotte for help, and from where the wooden stick got stuck, she found a chainsaw that no one had noticed before. The two girls got into the building. Teppei and Charlotte also made it through the door, and EU then restored power to the entire company. TPP was almost there when the commander from before was waiting to block them. The support team had reached the third bomb, Sylvia and CK as well, but only 2 minutes left. What made it hard for Sylvia was deciding whether to cut the red or blue wire. Teppei dodged the first shot and wanted to know why the guy risked his life like that. He was jealous and annoyed because Teppei's life had completely changed overnight. He also guessed Teppei's stubbornness and came to save Charlotte, so he waited, ignoring orders from above because he felt annoyed and would deal with whatever annoyed him. Teppei heard that and got ready, but now he wanted to use that wooden stick to fight the gun. The arrogant commander found it ridiculous and thought Teppei would lose, and the author gave this wooden stick unusual toughness, as it blocked 2 bullets without breaking. Not to mention it was so dark, but he could still see the bullet paths. It's just a trick, so just ignore it. It's a movie, not real life. Back to Sylvia. She cut the red wire and was really relieved when the timer stopped. JK wanted to know why. Sylvia said it was a gut feeling, and red was her lucky color today. And Teppei didn't have time to think anymore because there were only 10 seconds left, so he grabbed the bomb and ran straight to the bathroom and threw it into the garbage chute. The chute was wrapped in 10 centimeters thick steel, so it didn't cause too much damage. After everything was settled and everyone was safe, please let Scarlet know that Hartman was shot. Scarlet also felt sorry for him and thought that in the end, she might have cared a little about Hartman. Then she was called back by the driver. The driver promised to keep tonight's events hidden from Alfred. But the reason I said Hartman was shot is because he's still alive. Smiling like that in life, how could he die? Mr. Ayu and Mr. Arima arrived right after. He thanked everyone for helping protect the building, but he wondered where Scarlet was. The group said a car came and took her away earlier. He asked if the driver was Alfred, because he only trusted Alfred. Hearing this, everyone was shocked because Scarlet had been taken. Scarlet was sitting in the car when Josephine came in and told her that the person sitting behind her was Hartman. She was drugged. The next day, Sylvia only knew how to practice swordsmanship because she couldn't do anything to save Scarlet. Seika also had no time to think about the newly formed band, and Teppei refused to eat anything. That night, Mr. Arima gathered everyone together because he had investigated and found out that the kidnapper of Scarlet was Harmon. He had photos from the airport, and most were not surprised that Harmon was still alive. Teppei wanted to do something but was stopped by Hudson, because this case had reached a national level, and it wasn't something he could intervene in anymore. No way. I wanted to stay idle, but Hudson thought it was too risky to let young people like them get involved. Because of that, Teppei didn't care about anything for days, except Scarlet. Nezu asked him, but he still didn't answer. He even went back to the place where the two first met, to recall that moment. Pepper realized his heart belonged to Scarlet. At that time, she had just woken up and met Harmon. She was tied up and couldn't move. He said he would crush the Arima Corporation, and of course Teppei too. Because of that, she realized everything that happened in the building was caused by him. He said Mr. Arima still owes him, and he will make him despair by taking away his heir. He then left and assigned 2 guards to watch over Lot's body. Coincidentally, these 2 were the mentally disabled guards from the building last time. She shouted that the ropes were too tight, and the 2 quickly came over half-heartedly to help her. She even asked for more food. Yu and Sylvia had by then found the location of Lot's body on the royal ship, but the information was still unconfirmed. However, this was all they had. Teppei was unsettled. Teppei had returned home, where Seka waited to confront him about his depressed attitude. Teppei used the excuse that Hudson said it was too risky and he was not allowed to join, but Seka reminded him of the determination he once had, the determination he showed when organizing the party and learning to dance to join the club. Because he always lived boldly. Even if AI said otherwise, it didn't matter. Is this really Tep that she loved? She stepped forward and kissed Teppy, then Sylvia came out. Sylvia thought the same, except she turned off TikTok and asked if he was the one who fenced with her and settled the feud between the two families. She didn't care about TikTok because she was going back to their country to save Lot's body. The two girls saved the last part for Haikyuu because TikTok now needed someone to soothe its heart. Yu entered Teppy's room and climbed onto his bed. Teppy tried to look away, so she rested his head on her lap. She reminded Teppy that he still had a chance to save Lot's body. Her gentle words made Teppy enlightened. He would go save Lot's body, but for now, he wanted to lie down a little longer. That night, after Lot's body used the mental disability of the two guards to find out where they would go and where to bathe. Meanwhile, Hudson heard the information from Haikyuu and knew where his daughter was about to go. He didn't allow it and wanted Sylvia to stay to look after her sister and be with Teppy. But she knew Teppy would definitely go to save Lot's body, and she also wanted to help. The father protecting the country, Hudson was persuaded by his youngest daughter and agreed to let Sylvia go. He would return home first to discuss matters. Harmon was sitting sipping a drink because he had deliberately leaked information about the ship to lure Teppy here. Teppy was preparing to leave, still unaware of the trap waiting for him. The next day, however, Steve came to see him to say something first before leaving. He gave him a stack of money and taught him a lesson that money is the sword in this world. Those blind to money would fail and pay a very high price. Everyone's life depends on their wealth. He handed him the family sword and let him go. When you went to the airport and met Seika again, she was a little jealous of Sacklot because Teppei was worrying about her like that. She blurted out, asking if you would worry that much if she got caught. But because of the pact between the girls, she didn't press further. Since it was time for the plane to take off, Teppei set off. Before leaving, you answered CK's question that you would also come to rescue if she got caught. You had by then informed everyone from Hodson to Alfred and Taylor. They had to carry out some plan to avoid letting this incident escalate to a national level. Harmon had also received information that Taylor was about to fall into their trap. Taylor had now arrived at Cynthia's hometown. This place would be the point the train passes through. Teppei met his fiancée of the future, and she was given command of her own engineer team. The reason was that she defeated the previous team leader, Hosen. He also welcomed you to his country. He said he would hold a party tonight and invited Tep to attend. You and you both participated, but you hung out with Sylvia's little sister, while Tep went outside to get some fresh air with Sylvia. Both recalled the first time they met was also at a party like this. On a whim, they invited each other to a sword duel. The duel quickly ended with Teppei losing. You sincerely wanted to talk about choosing Sacklot, but Cynthia understood and said she wouldn't accept anyone losing to her twice. Her intention was to say she would give Teppei to Sharklot, but she still gave you a farewell kiss. The next morning, everyone had confirmed the train's route. That day, Cynthia discovered Hartman's train. Steve chased the train on a motorcycle. Harmon noticed and made the train go faster. Charlotte, upon hearing Teppei had arrived, excitedly ran to find him, running close to the train, forcing Hartman to order his men to open fire. Cynthia's allies fired back, causing several large holes in the train. Charlotte ran out calling Teppei, but was surprised to see Alfred instead. He was assigned to distract attention so Teppei could stand guard at the front bridge. Breaking in, you successfully jumped onto the train and headed to the cockpit. After knocking out the driver, you slowed the train so Sylvia could approach and board. Harmon remained calm and sent Josephine to capture Sacklot here. The soldiers were sent to block Sylvia's engineer team. Alfred was fighting alone against an army. While Sacklot tried to run to Anfest, Josephine caught her. She used Sacklot to threaten Teppei, forcing the train to speed up again. Josephine threw Sacklot to Teppei and wanted to deal with both at once. Suddenly, Harmon appeared and shot Josephine because she didn't follow the plan, but he also killed her since letting her live after this incident would be troublesome. Teppei couldn't believe he shot his own teammate. Harumaru then revealed that when he was young, he was very poor and stole money to survive. He was caught and humiliated by Mr. Arima. Since then, he has held a grudge and vowed to make him pay. When Teppei appeared, his plan was conceived. The incident at the skyscraper was the same. He pointed a gun at Teppei and Sacklot. Because you didn't want to stand still, you charged to attack the soldiers. Harmon accidentally shot a wire on the train ceiling, which fell close to Sharklot. She dodged the wire, but her chain fell off the train, forcing Teppei to catch her. You were shot by Harmon from behind and fell off the train, much to Sharklot's regret. Harmon cut the train into 2 parts, so Sylvia and Alfred couldn't come to help. Meanwhile, at Seika's club, all members knew Sacklot had been captured, and Teppei was going to rescue her. Everyone found out through Nizu's gossiping mouth. Nezu and the others wanted to do something to share the burden with Teppei and Ba. Girl number 4, counting UCK, was still deep in thought, wondering how Tepp was doing now. Haru later released Sharklot because he wanted to be the one who defeated the Arima family and the lone rescuer of Sharklot from the kidnappers. People wouldn't care if that was true or not, but Sharklot still believed people aren't easily fooled like that. Harmon thought she was too naive, because she had never been betrayed or tasted deception. Harmon then ignored whatever she wanted to do. Sharknose chose to save Josephine because he knew this was what Teppei would do. You had by then woken up in the car, driven by Alfred and Sylvia. However, one person had to get off the car if they wanted to continue. Teddy and Mr. Alfred had to play rock, paper, scissors, because both wanted to be the one to rescue Sacklot. Alfred lost bitterly, and could only watch Teddy take the niece farther away. Sacklot was trying to find a way to save Josephine. Luckily, the 2 young men helped, since they had studied medicine. Teppei was driving Sylvia on the bike, and asked EU to find the best route. My lover was tired and about to fall asleep. He heard Teppei calling and woke up to show the way. Sharklot, while waiting, asked the 2 young men why they left the medical field. The reason was because of a lack of money to get by, and by chance, he found this job online. She apologized for not being able to do anything, but the 2 young men believed she was not at fault, simply that it was due to each person's circumstances. At that moment, the enemy soldiers began to spot Teppei. He was shot at by the enemy, but Sharklot ran over and begged them to stop just in time. And Teppei drove the car close to the train and let Sylvia take the wheel to help. Then Harmon arrived and held Sharklot back. Teppei drove the car closer to the train and let Sylvia take the wheel because he was going to jump in. He jumped into a car carriage, and Sharklot took advantage of Hartman's distraction to run away. Harmon slowly chased after because in the narrow train carriage, she couldn't run far. Teppei reduced the number of carriages by dropping some at the back and moved forward to face Harmon. He held Sharklot behind him and pointed a gun at Teppei. He was also surprised that Teppei was still alive, but this time there wouldn't be an AI coming to save him like before. Steve thought and tried to reason with Harmon by reminding him of his past. He believed that Steve didn't intend to humiliate Harmon, but was valuing him and hoping he could stand on his own. But Harmon thought that only someone like Steve, who made money, could say that, and fired a shot that grazed Teppei's face. He said the next shot would be right between Teppei's eyes. Teppei kept trying to reason with him about how talented he was if he chose the right path. But the more he spoke, the more Harmon thought he was just a hypocrite. Harmon then decided to die together with both of them by detonating the train carriage. Teppei had to leave immediately before it was too late, and wanted Harmon to leave too. But Harmon told him that he was the one who killed Teppei's parents, and that he had made a mistake by forgetting Teppei. He swore he would never surrender to the Arima family. But Teppei chose to forgive him and wanted him to live. When Harmon pointed the gun, Teppei rushed forward and knocked the gun away. He punched him and persuaded him to live. Then he hugged Sharklot and left the train. He held her tightly so she wouldn't get hurt when they were about to hit the ground. But Sylvia drove over and caught them. Hartman was caught by Anne, but he realized he caught the wrong person and threw him into the river. The EU team could finally breathe a sigh of relief and rest. Ozen quickly informed Mr. Arima. Seika from the association also heard the news and immediately notified everyone. They decided to hold a party to celebrate the whole group's return. Meanwhile, Josephine woke up to find Harmon by her side. Despite being betrayed, she still wanted to stay at the amusement park. Harmon, Stephanie, and B.A. the girl returned to the club and joined the dance party organized by CK himself. He danced one by one with everyone, including the EU team. The next morning, you hear EU announce that the last trip caused quite a bit of damage, and the company's budget spent a lot. But Tapai wants to do something, so EU thinks you should go apologize to those who have been worried about you all this time. Start with CK. Thanking and apologizing won't be enough to say everything. Next, ask for her blessing to forgive Tapai. And finally, Sharklot. She's a bit sulky because she was the last one, but she's not petty towards Tapai. Because in the end, everything came from you. The movie ends here.